What's going on, everybody? It's Chris Classic dropping another video on this lovely day. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to subscribe to the See-Through Wrestling channel. Yesterday I dropped a video about things that I don't like about WWE, and as promised, I'm going to give you guys a list about everything that I do like about WWE. Like I said, I'm going to do this for a lot of other companies as well. Don't take it personal. These are my opinions. I've been talking to people in the comments about what they don't like about it. You know, we've talked about it, so let's just have this discussion. I'm sorry. Alright, the first thing that I like about WWE, which is ironic, is that they are number one. Now, in the previous list, I said I didn't like that they're number one, but I also do like that they're number one. That means that they can do a lot of the things that other companies cannot do. They can choose to do what they want. You know, they work so hard to be where they're at, regardless of people like or don't like how they got up there. They are number one. Like I said in the previous video, if you're watching any other wrestling show, even my company, if I'm probably watching it on YouTube or something and somebody walks by, they're going to assume it's WWE. Like, that's a big thing. That means that your name is obviously heavy and it's number one for a reason in the wrestling business. When you think of a wrestling ring, you might think of WWE. These are the things that I strive for, and I'm sure a lot of other wrestling companies strive for, to basically be the face of pro wrestling, and that's WWE. And that may or may not change anytime soon, but it's looking like it's going to be there for a while. We got to understand that. Another thing that I like is that it has a lot of media coverage. Good or bad going on with WWE is going to be in the newspaper. It might even be the newspaper cover. That is a tremendous thing, especially being a wrestler already. It's hard to get coverage. It's hard to get interviews because people have their opinions and how they feel about wrestling being fake or whatnot. So the fact that a wrestling company, a professional wrestling company, can always be in the newspaper or be a headline in an article on the internet, and even have people who don't even watch it read it, that's always a big thing. You gotta understand, wrestling it's a big and small community at the same time. So that's a good thing that somebody can read up on pro wrestling. Another thing, unpopular to everybody's belief, they do listen sometimes. They don't risk a lot. I've said that, but I do think that they do listen to some of us, some of the fans that go to Twitter or Facebook or just anything and comment about it. I do think that sometimes they do listen. They might not listen a lot, but they do. I remember Kofi Kingston being in the main event for 2 days. I'm joking, but we were really pushing for Kofi. We thought Kofi was going to win the Elimination Chamber, and you know, they changed everything around to have Kofi Mania at WrestleMania 35, and actually one of my favorite WrestleManias. You know, they've listened with Daniel Bryan, a lot of other stuff. They listened a little bit with Zack Ryder, but I just think that they just didn't take him serious. New Day as well. I mean, people were booing New Day. Like, New Day was, people called them trash and they sucked and stuff. I was interested in the faction. I thought it was going to go in a different direction, but it went somewhere else. And now look at them. They're like already legit Hall of Famers already. So these are things that you got to realize, that they do listen sometimes. Not all the time, but they do listen. I mean, NXT was also a good example. They weren't doing bad product for a while, especially when they first came out, because they was trying to make a name for the brand. And that's something. So they do listen to us sometimes. Another thing I like about WWE is how big of a business it is, and also the business ventures that they do. We can sit here all day and just be like, WWE is a wrestling company, but you know, they do business, the sponsorships, everything. It's all one big thing, you know. To be a wrestling company and have deals with all these other companies, charities and things like that, and have wrestlers come and be ambassadors like Cricket, Be a Star, Susan G. Komen. You have all of these business ventures that they do, and that says something big about the brand. Going into my next point, WWE is more than wrestling, and that's something that I like. They have their own studios for movies. They have their own people that come in and makes the theme music. You know, they keep switching Jim Johnson, CFO straight. It's a lot of things that they do that's their own thing. Even giving wrestlers trademark names. Now, a lot of people don't like it, but I kind of do, because you're going to eat off of that name, and you may even eat off that name if you get released, because on the wrestling flyers they're going to say formerly known as whoever your name is on WWE. So these are factors that we got to understand. The studios, the going into the stock market, going public, it's more than wrestling. Like, people understand that WWE has their own things, the toys, the business, like doing these business deals, going back into the business ventures. It's more than just wrestling, man. So that's just another thing that's good to venture out past what your core thing is. You know, it's entertainment. It says it in its name. Another thing that I actually like is they've worked with other companies. You see now AEW working with Impact, New Japan, it's other companies, and a lot of people are like, oh, what if WWE did it? WWE has done it many a times. Even when it was called WWF, they've worked with New Japan, they've worked with Progress, they've worked with ICW, WXW, I'm sorry. They've worked with all of these companies before. You know, the classics, the Mae Young Classic, Shimmer, the Cruiserweight Classic, Progress, like they've been working with companies. They've scouted talent from other companies. You know, it may not be how we want it to be or how they work with these companies, but they've sent wrestlers to other shows to perform. Of Evolve, Evolve's a great example. The one too long ago, Street Profits were over there. They were the champs, and then they dropped it as well. So they've worked with other companies, but I like that they do it on their terms. It's not like, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to have your people show. Like, they do it how they want to do it. It might not be how we like it, but obviously it's still working because it's the number one. Another thing that I actually like about WWE is the network. Now, check this out. Pay-per-views used to be like $60, and it's like, I don't think I would actually pay monthly for $60 just to watch a pay-per-view I may or may not like. That $9.99 is a good deal. Like, for somebody who's going to recap shows on the channel, the pay-per-views, this is a good thing. Even people who don't like WWE has the network so they can look at old content from WCW, WWE, ECW, AWA, all of these old companies. And that's another thing I like about the network. The network doesn't have hours of content. They have years, actually decades of content that you can look at. Oh, I don't like WWE now. I like when Austin and The Rock and Triple H were there. Oh, you can look at that. Oh, I didn't like when the Attitude Era. I liked when it was Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man, Roddy Piper. You can look at that. You can look at all of this old content just for $9.99. They have many bloggers and vloggers that get a camera and they talk about wrestling like myself, and we can go back and look at the network and we can look at it and watch it instead of having it saved on DVR. Like, the network was revolutionary. They might have not been the first company to do something like that, but at the same time, for $9.99, that is a deal. They lost a lot of money with that as well. My last point is I like about WWE is WrestleMania. This goes back into media coverage. If you are a wrestling company and you choose a date to have a wrestling show and then WrestleMania comes and says that we're going to do it on this show, it might be best for you to cancel. They've done it before where they've locked weekends to say, hey, if any other wrestling show happens on the same day or the same weekend of WrestleMania, we will not come back. And people have shut down wrestling companies for doing shows that day. It sucks, but at the same time, WrestleMania is a big thing. There's no wrestling show bigger than WrestleMania. I do not care how you feel about WWE. WrestleMania is that thing. The media coverage, ESPN, Fox, all of that. That all goes into WrestleMania. Regardless if we like who's in the main event, who's a champion, or the event itself. This is an event that people are going to talk for years down the line. They're going to keep talking about WrestleMania. At one point, WrestleMania was the only show where Undertaker will wrestle at. WrestleMania is the #1 wrestling show. It's a special event. Everyone's going to watch it. Media coverage. You're going to have a lot of media coverage. You're going to have a lot of people do vlogs that day. You're going to have people do live reactions on YouTube. Like, it's a big thing. You want to see what celebrity's going to show up. A celebrity might even come and wrestle. You just never know what old school wrestler or Hall of Famer or somebody who was from yesteryear is going to come and have a match or do a spot. Like, these are things that people look forward to. Even if you don't watch wrestling, you might watch WrestleMania when it comes on, and if it comes on. When I went to work, I had a friend of mine. He said that he was watching WrestleMania. I believe it was on ESPN. They were playing like a lot of WrestleManias. This was around the time COVID started hitting people hard. That's a big thing to be on a sports channel. The biggest debate about wrestling is it a sport or is it entertainment? And honestly, it's both of them. So the fact that other channels want to show WrestleMania, even WrestleManias from years ago, that just shows you how big it is, that WrestleMania is one of the biggest wrestling shows. Alright, this was the video that I wanted to drop about what I liked about WWE. There's a lot of things I'm going to touch on that's going to mix both of them with more content that I drop. I think the next company I want to talk about are things that I like about AEW and things I don't like. I think I'll start with the things that I don't like about AEW first. Once again, this is Chris Classic. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and let's take it home.